Was there a little bit of personal, you wanted to show them after they did really try to assign them?
It's a lot that went on in those 5 years while I was there. But, yeah, I definitely say it was a little personal. Just wanted to get the win and have a great performance from my end. And like I said, those guys allowed me to do it, and we was able to get the job done again.
Rico, if your message last week was buckle up to the Cowboys, what's your message after the game?
They weren't buckled up. No.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Happy Monday. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. And shout out to Uncle Rico. He warned them. They didn't listen. Connor Rogers, Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher. Love me some Rico Dowdle.
Absolutely.
Keep playing him. Screw it.
I mean, honestly, he's right. The Cowboys were not buckled up. They were not at all. You at home should also buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride for the next hour.
What's going on?
We got a lot going on. Apparently, Rico Dowdle's the greatest fantasy football player that ever lived.
I was going to say, the rundown says, how do you value Dowdle moving forward? Have you guys heard of LaDainian Tomlinson?
Yes.
Because that's basically
a poor man's Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what he is these days. But yeah, will he be disrupted by the Chubbler? That is the only question.
He almost has to be. It's weird.
Well,
it's
a highly paid starting running back.
Highly paid starting running back who had been productive, not as productive as Rico Dowdle, who now has back-to-back games with over 200 yards from scrimmage, almost 500 total yards in the last 2 weeks. He's averaging 30 touches a game. He's got a 19% target share. Each of the last 2 weeks, he's finished as the #1 running back in fantasy football. And I get it because you're sitting here going like, well, he did it against the Cowboys. He did, he's done to get these bad teams. But other teams play these teams. They're not running for 200 yards, Connor.
No, the Panthers are a very good run blocking team even without some of their starters. This is a beautiful situation for a running back to be in. Truly, I think that's a narrative that people don't realize right now. The Panthers are an awesome situation for any running back to be in.
So the question is that, okay, we expect the Chubbler Jr., mini Chubbler,
mini
small Chubb,
to
come back here at some point, possibly as soon as this week. He's a highly paid running back who has been fairly effective in his career as a Carolina Panther, Jay Croucher.
Yeah, son of Chubb.
Yes, the son of Chubb.
Yeah.
But this performance by Rico Dowdle, by the way, they're 2-0. I mean, it's not like this is some junk time stuff. Like the Panthers are, I believe they're 3-3 on the season now.
That's what the math says,
right?
Same record as the Chiefs. 2 wins clear of the Ravens.
Yep.
Look, I think the question is how much of it is a product of the defenses that they've faced. The Miami run defense is atrocious. The Dallas run defense is atrocious. By the way, they play the Jets this week. I don't think have the to be fair, they did okay against J.K. Dobbins.
That's the thing. The Jets aren't good, but the one thing they actually do is kind of contain the run.
Yeah, exactly. But you suspect that the Panthers will have game script there. And I think the sneaky thing for Dowdle in this run game is that Bryce Young hasn't been very good this year, and so they want to lean into the run as much as possible. Bryce was fine yesterday, did what he needed to do, gets T-Mac 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, I'm very interested in what the carry share will be between Dowdle and Chuba, because I think, now I understand that they paid Chuba Hubbard, but doesn't Dowdle have to get the bulk of the work now?
Yeah, listen, that's the thing, right? The toothpaste can't go back into the tube. And so if I had Rico Dowdle, it's like, oh, are you selling high? And the answer is I don't think I am, because I don't think you're going to get the value. I mean, listen, maybe you can, right? But I think you're better off riding it out with Dowdle in the hopes that he gets 70% of the work moving forward versus trying to. I definitely am not going to try to buy high, right? Because, this is unsustainable, and there's a chance that he's basically back into a committee. I think back to 2016 and Jay Ajayi, former Miami Dolphin, back-to-back 200-yard games in 2016, week 6 and 7 of that season with the Miami Dolphins. Now, he was running back 13 the rest of the way. He actually ended up having another 200-yard game in week 16, I believe. But while running back 13 is awesome, right? So he was a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. He wasn't what he was in week 6 and 7, which was the #1 running back in fantasy. And so that's what I think is that with Dowdle here, I can't imagine. Listen, if somebody's willing to give you RB1 value for Rico Dowdle, great, go for it. But I think in just most normal leagues, you're not going to get the value back for Dowdle that's equal to the potential upside of him in the scenario where he just literally takes this job and runs away with it. Dave Canales is like, I'm sorry, Chuba, but Like, we're not putting that toothpaste back in the bottle. We're not putting, I mean, like, it is what it is. Like, he's gotten there.
Yeah. Definitely not putting the toothpaste back in the bottle by any
tube,
means.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. As I was telling Matthew yesterday, Connor, JJ, my favorite football player of all time, because he has my name in it twice, and that makes you.
Right.
Yeah. Jay Cutler only has it in once, but JJ has it twice. I think the other big story out of this game, Matthew, was George Pickens, who has been an absolute beast. He's had these stretches before, but with CD Lamb out, now CD is expected to probably return this week. But what's the outlook, do you think, for Pickens going forward? Where does he settle in once CD comes back?
I think, obviously, look, because Dak Prescott is playing at such a high level and because their defense continues to be terrible, they're going to be in game script all the time. So I do think, look, do I think George Pickens is the number one wide receiver in fantasy the way he is as we head into Monday Night Football? No, I don't. But do I think he's an upside wide receiver too every single week? I do. I think CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens have a very real opportunity to be like sort of a version of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, literally with Lamb in the Chase role and Pickens in the Higgins role. I think this offense and Dak Prescott are good enough to support two top 20 wide receivers, especially given how bad the defense is. And it's really, other than those two guys, it's Jake Ferguson in the red zone, and that's about it.
How different do you think Pickens is in Dallas as a player to what he was in Pittsburgh?
I just think he's so much more locked in on a week-by-week basis because of the target share, and maybe that does coincide, of course, with CeeDee's injury, but I don't think they're going to get away from him. He's just been too good. Him after the catch as well. He's just got different juice this year. I think he knows that Dak will take chances to him that maybe he didn't always get previously.
And I think he would win a bar bet with this one. No one in the NFL has more end zone targets this year than George Pickens. Like, if I said to you, like, who do you think has the most end zone targets in the NFL this year? I bet you don't think it's George Pickens, but it sort of makes sense when you think about, like, how often they throw and the fact that Pickens is a really good 50-50 ball winner. Like, I mean, he is somebody that, if you throw it up, he comes down with it. He's more often than not going to come down with it. He tends to win those balls here. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on Rico Dowdle. I just don't want to, because that is the story. Like, this guy that, went off for in theory, a bad team, although to your point, they're 3-3, they're saying the Chiefs.
They're not.
I know, but
they're not terrible, but they're not.
You are what your record are.
But they're good at something.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't get away from what you're good at.
And knowing the deficiencies, knowing that the quarterback has struggled, that other than Tedero and McMillan, they don't have much in the passing game. And so if you're Dave Canales, you're like, listen, I've managed to squeak out a couple of wins here riding this guy. Why wouldn't I keep doing that? And so, speaking of somebody who has Chuba Hubbard in a couple of leagues, including a dynasty league that where I really need him, I'm bummed about this because I don't have Dowdle. But, it's hard to...
Who'd you rather have, Rico Dowdle or Quinshon Judkins?
The rest of the way?
Yeah.
I think still Judkins for me.
I'd rather have Dowdle. There's more upside. I just don't think
there's
Judkins
more upside with Dowdle, but the volume. I feel very confident that, barring no injury, Judkins is going to average 20 touches a game the rest of the year.
Yep.
Dowdle could go
3.9 yards per carry. It'll load it up.
Yeah, but Dowdle, Dowdle could get the workload he's getting. Dowdle could also go back to the wrong side of a timeshare. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's within the range of outcomes here. But it's close, and I think that's a good mark. I would probably rank Dowdle. If I was doing rankings for the rest of the season, I would probably rank him somewhere like in the 12 to 15 range among running backs. I think he's a mid-tier RB2, and if I knew Hubbard was out for the rest of the year, he's a top 5 back.
Yeah, the tricky one, too, is Dowdle's on a one-year deal in Carolina where do you pick up the phone? It's hard to do right now because he's leading you to wins, but this one from Oscar was offered Pickens and Henry for Tet, Pollard, and Pearsall. Do I do it?
Pickens and Henry. I assume that's Derek and not Hunter.
Yeah,
let's assume that's Derek.
Always assume Derek. I would rather have Pickens and Henry.
Yeah, I was going to say I would do that deal. We've talked about this. We think, first off, signs of life from Derrick Henry against, with whatever, Tyler Huntley and Cooper Rush. We'll get to that game. But, Derrick Henry, I thought, looked pretty good on Sunday, given all the givens. Lamar Jackson, they're on a bye this week. Lamar Jackson is back after that, and we do think the schedule gets a lot easier.
Yep. Mark my words. I called the end of Derrick Henry early. I was ahead of the curve there. Now I'm going to be ahead of the curve the other way. Derrick Henry is going to come home like an absolute steam train. He's going to be, once he comes off the bye, I think that he'll be a top 5 running back in football again because Lamar comes back. The schedule, like they're going to be favored in almost, they're going to be favored in I think every game the rest of the way. And I still, like Lamar is still such a cheat code for the run game.
Our next game, guys, the Bucs over the 49ers, the very injured 49ers right now. Let's take a look at the notable fantasy point scorers in this one because Baker Mayfield's MVP campaign is officially off and running. But Tez Johnson was a little confused when he heard the MVP chants.
I'll tell you a funny story. This is crazy. When I score and I hit MVP chant, I'm thinking they talking about me. So I asked Shep. I'm like, Shep, they was chanting MVP. And he was like, yeah. I was like, I ain't do nothing this year. And then he was like, they talking about Baker, Tez. And I was like, well, that explains it. But he is the MVP. The one he got the first down on, he said he blacked out. But, I mean, that's just Baker. The pump fake get everybody. I'm just like, oh, my God, he's a dog.
Well said. MVP candidate Tez Johnson.
Tez Johnson.
You're an MVP to us.
Yeah, 100%. They weren't chanting for you, but here at the happy hour we are. It was an unbelievable catch, and I love the self-awareness and self-deprecating. He would fit in with a happy hour crew.
Great personality, the Tez dispenser. Yeah, it was one of those catches where as soon as the ball came out with Baker, it's like a little bit too far. Just put a bit too much air on it, and then Tez just brings it in. And he might be part of this offense going forward, Connor. They don't have any receivers left.
They don't have any receivers left where he will be a part of this offense right now. You always get worried about hamstring injuries, and they just keep losing receiver after receiver, especially the story Emeka, Egbuka has been. Here's the thing with Tez. I mean, the only reason he fell as far as he did, he's 154 pounds at the combine. There's not really anybody in the NFL that plays that way. The guy can play. He's produced throughout college. He was an excellent wide receiver at Oregon. He can win down the field. So this is someone where the Bucs are the land of, like, almost the misfit toys, and I mean that in the most positive way. They get these players that the NFL looks at and is like, not our kind of guy, and then they find it there. Bucky Irving, undersized running back that fell in the draft. Tez Johnson, Baker Mayfield discarded. I just believe the Bucs make it work with these guys, and it'll work for Tez.
They do, and so Emeka Egbuka gets a hamstring injury, doesn't play in the second half, played 0 snaps, so we will figure out how. Hopefully we'll get more news on the timetable for his return. Bummer because our touchdown parlay on Fansville pregame, we were 3 for 3 and we only had Egbuka left to go, and then of course doesn't play the second half. Bummer, serious bummer there. I was hoping we would get like a bad bet, credit there from
happens a lot from our friends at DraftKings.
Yeah, in this particular case, the crown was not ours. What are you going to do? Anyway, the question here from Raise the Flags with the injury to Egbuka, who's your favorite, Johnson in Tampa, or are we thinking Shepard? I don't know that I feel like Tez over Cameron. I'll say that.
And Shepard over both of them.
Yeah, probably.
Based on floor. Tez has upside because he is a vertical guy.
I kind of really like Tez in Dynasty, by the way. I think he's a really interesting guy. Again, Chris Godwin, the second injury seems like this might be a little bit more serious. We're hopeful to get Mike Evans back next week. I don't know that I'm spending a ton on Tez Johnson in a redraft league, but I do think he's a very interesting name for Dynasty and someone for deeper leagues to think about. We'll talk about him more tomorrow, but I think that Shepard, to your point in terms of floor, of the currently healthy Buccaneers wide receivers.
Yep, and just with Egbuka, we still don't have a timetable on, and obviously every strain can be different, but as a general rule across most sports really, is that if you leave with a soft tissue injury and you're not able to get back into a game that still has stakes, that's usually a couple weeks out. Yeah. So I suspected Egbuka. The other thing too is that, so they have games the next 2 weeks. 3 weeks from now, they have a bye. So my best guess would be that they probably just give him that extra time, and then he comes back fully healthy after the bye. And so until then, buckle up Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
On the other side of this game, the Niners.
He's like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Buckle up in a way that the Cowboys did not yesterday. Another huge game from Rachaad White, by the way. Sean Tucker against the end zone, but, Rachaad White, 19 touches, 12.5% target share over the last 2 weeks.
Yep. On the Niners side of things in this loss, they've dealt with injury after injury all season long. Jauan Jennings only had 7 yards, and despite playing, he is also injured. Just listen how bad this is.
Playing with injuries is just something. It's a part of it. You got high, low ankle sprains. You got shoulders. 20%. You got ribs, 5 broken ribs. It is what it is. You keep playing. and nobody cares. You keep playing. So we do.
That's right now. You've got 5 broken ribs?
Yeah, I got 5 broken ribs.
Is your plan to just pain tolerance?
Oh yeah, it's football. I love pain. I wouldn't be playing this sport if I didn't. You know, it's part of it, man. You got to enjoy every little thing that comes with it, and pain is one of those.
So yeah, that's Jauan Jennings talking about how he loves pain, and
I'm not a pain guy.
I'm not a pain guy either. But listen, you can see with the red hair, that's a guy that marches to a different drum beat than you or I.
What's the deal with him getting cleared to play each week? The Niners staff are just like, yeah, it's fun.
I don't know. It's hard until you see it, though. I mean, they're so beat up. And by the way, next week we expect George Kittle back. There's a chance Ricky Pearsall comes back. Brock Purdy should be back next week, and so obviously there's a connection between Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. Another huge game for Kendrick Bourne. Had 5 for 142. He's now got a 23.5% target share over the last 2 weeks for Mac Jones, and so there's so much uncertainty around the 49ers outside of Christian McCaffrey. Kittle comes back, of course, you're starting him, but just can't imagine starting Jauan Jennings until we see it. And honestly, if Kittle's back and everything like that, I'm going to be a little nervous about Kendrick Bourne as well. And it's just there's so much uncertainty around this 49ers offense.
But one thing on this team right now is with another huge loss on defense, Fred Warner is out for the season.
Yes.
They might be playing in pass-heavy scripts or shootout-heavy scripts.
They are going to be one of the most fantasy-friendly teams in the league now because, the thing is they were maybe the top-heaviest defense in the NFL already, and they lost the 2 top guys. They have no Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner the rest of the way. Purdy is going to come back. Purdy is going to make the offense better. Brock Purdy is better than Mac Jones. And with Kittle coming back, Pearsall coming back, I think this is going to be now a really explosive offense again. And they're going to have to throw a ton.
Yeah, and they're home to the Falcons next week on a short week. Of course, Atlanta plays tonight, and they'll have to travel to San Francisco on a short week.
The Sunday night game, the Lions at Kansas City. Kansas City got rolling in this one. Patrick Mahomes, the top scorer with over 31 fantasy points. How about Hollywood Brown just under him with 20.5 points? We got to hear from Mahomes in the postgame on this offense coming together against a really good Lions team.
You could see it. You see spurts here and there throughout the beginning of the season of guys excelling. And, obviously you don't want injuries, but, it threw Hollywood and Tyquan in big moments and where they had to really progress even faster than we could expect, kind of like with Xavier the year before and Rashid the year before that. And so now that we're adding those guys back, they all have the confidence that they can win their matchups and know how to work within the offense. And so it makes my job a lot easier. And when those guys up front are blocking like that, I have weapons everywhere that I can throw the football.
The Chiefs offense taking advantage of a Lions secondary that is just beyond wounded.
Yep.
But they looked good last night, Matthew. The quick game was rolling for the Chiefs. They got all the big guys involved. Kelsey out of the gate had some juice to this one. And right now, Mahomes is the top scoring quarterback in fantasy going into the Monday Night Football doubleheader.
He's had one game this year with fewer than 22 fantasy points. He leads all qualified quarterbacks with 289 yards of offense per game, both passing and rushing. And that's the key to me here. It's not just the passing, but also every game it seems like he's giving you something with the legs. I think he had over 30 yards and a rushing touchdown in this one as well. And so the question is Patrick Mahomes back to being, capital letters, Patrick Mahomes fantasy superstar? And I say yes.
Defiantly, definitely yes, all the way, because he is getting the running this year. But, Jay, the pass game is just so wildly efficient right now. And, Rashee Rice is back.
Exactly. This week,
They did it yesterday as well without Josh Simmons at left tackle, who had a personal thing, couldn't play. He was been looking good recently. He's given them something at left tackle they didn't have. The offensive line looks better than it has in a couple of years. To me, this is clearly the best Chiefs offense since 2022 when Mahomes was throwing for 5,000 yards and winning MVP. And I think it's the only way is up as well with Rashee Rice, who is by far the best pass catcher on the team now. And just to be able to inject him back in, there's not many quarterbacks I would want more than Mahomes the rest of the way. And
how many? Let's do it.
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. That's it.
But, listen, can you make an argument for Baker? Can you make an argument for Jaden Daniels? Sure, but probably not. I think if I were redrafting today, honestly, if I were redrafting today, I think Mahomes goes second. Because just, again, with the injury to Lamar and, that's kind of a lost season. I know their schedule gets easier, but I'd feel better about Mahomes right now than I do. So I think I would probably say Allen, Mahomes, Then you've got Lamar, Jaden, Hurts. Obviously, Baker's in the mix. Drake May's continue to impress. I think Caleb has a nice game today as well. But like that's going to be like sort of the next tier.
Yeah, I would have Mahomes and Hurts as 3 and 4.
Sorry, I didn't mention Hurts. Yeah,
Hurts is gonna. I think the Eagles. I don't think it can stay like this. I think they will get better. I think it'll get better. The thing is,
like, bet on it.
But I wouldn't want any of the elite guys over Hurts. Hurts is so tush-push dependent for his fantasy value. And it's going to continue, but
The thing with Hurts is that if he doesn't run, if there are no designed runs in the offense for him, he's just not that elite of a quarterback.
That's right.
Like, that's what makes him special. And they just haven't been calling any designed runs for him at all. So I just think mini buy. How do you fix the team? Well, make Jalen Hurts run again. And I think a lot of things gets fixed. So I would be buying Eagles and Hurts stock at the moment.
On the Lions side of this game, signs of life from Jameson Williams.
Hang on, before we move on to off the Chiefs, the only thing I want to say is obviously a huge game for Hollywood Brown. And I'm sort of like, I mean, just because, again, like you've got Rashee Weiss, you've got Xavier Worthy, you've got Travis Kelce. Nice game for Kelce. Tyquan Thornton, a week after having 90 receiving yards, can't get a target. It was the weirdest thing in the world. I mentioned this because I took over 25 receiving yards for Tyquan Thornton as part of my 3-play last night. That did not cash. So apologies to America on that. It was a tough betting game as well. It was just super weird for his usage he'd cleared 40 receiving yards in every game this year but one, and not to get one target last night was kind of insane in a game in which Mahomes threw for almost, over 300 yards.
And in that game, the Chiefs' defense was really good. They kept the Lions' run game in check. They kept the Lions' pass game in check. The standout was Jameson Williams, who, finally
257 yards.
Finally was just involved in terms of target share. That's been the problem this year. I mean, season-high 26% target share. We have not seen that this year, it feels like, consistently.
Yeah, it was very handy. They were able to shut down relatively Amon-Ra St. Brown outside of that one drive where he's getting mostly short targets. But this was the Jameson Williams that we expected to see before the season. And I think that the Lions, just in recent weeks, they've just been so dominant. They just haven't had to do that much. Like, they were just destroying Baltimore on the ground in that primetime game. Then they're up 1 million points against Jake Browning. Don't need to throw that much. And they blew out the Bears by 30 points. So I think that in normal games where they do actually have to throw a bit, Jameson Williams is still like the number one outside receiver by far. It's just that their run game is so good typically that they don't really need to use him that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he had a 26% target share in this game, but that's a season high. His average of the target was 4.9. Which is the low in the season. Like, they didn't take any deep shots to him. Yeah. So it's sort of weird. It tells you maybe the route tree's expanded, which is good, but it's also like, well, if you're telling me he's competing for the short stuff with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, like, you don't feel great that that's always going to be the case here. They play Tampa Bay at home next week, so we'll see. Signs of life, but I just sort of feel like everyone bailed on Jameson Williams. No one started him last night, unless you were truly desperate or in a deeper league. And I've seen him available in a bunch of leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, Heavy Meat Sauce says Jameson Williams is the biggest boom-bust player that ever boom-busted. I agree with you, Meat
Gabe
Sauce.
Davis in Buffalo. I think the one thing that really would make you feel good about Jameson Williams is that this Detroit secondary is just completely battered. There's DJ Reed's on IR, Terrion Arnold's out for a while, Kirby Joseph is running around on one leg, Brian Branch was banged up as well, and I just think they're going to be
suspended, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. That was bad after the game.
So there's just going to be more shootouts where they may have to throw a bit more.
Yeah, the weird running game. I don't know that there's much you can take away from. David Montgomery has probably his worst game of the season, although he threw a touchdown pass that ended up getting called up. I think if that play had counted, if Jared Goff hadn't been in motion, illegal motion, maybe the narrative around him is a little bit different. Super weird on Jahmyr Gibbs because he gets all the rushing work, but no passing game work. It's his first game with 0 receiving yards since week 4 of 2024. I bring this up because my best bet yesterday was Jahmyr Gibbs over on his receiving yards, which he'd hit in 3 of the 5 games so far this year. The only 2 he hadn't had been the blowout wins. And so when you're like, well, in a close game, they're probably going to have to throw, and I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs. They'll be down. So I was right about all that, except for the fact they just didn't throw to Jahmyr Gibbs. I had a frustrating night last night. I apologize to America. I apologize to my family.
America accepts your apology.
Yeah. The good news is,
yes, sir,
you're in line to get your first win of the fantasy season in our show league.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Not at all. No, I know I'm not. No, producer Damien put up over 175 points on me.
I know.
But once, I mean, like, again, I am the most in points against. Like, it is every single week. Everyone brings their A game.
Where are you in points for in the league?
You're everyone's
I'm
Super
not
Bowl,
last.
Like when you do the monologue all summer, you're everyone's. I picked up 4 players to beat you. Last week.
No, I get. Listen, I get it. Karma's a bitch, and I talked a bunch of trash, and now I have to pay my compens. Now I'm being repaid, but I am still the defending champ of this league. You a-holes until
not
much
much
longer.
to be mathematically eliminated.
I think I already am, aren't I? I assume I already am.
Spiritually eliminated.
But yeah, like I had a good week, but Damien literally put up 170 points. Like you guys are like in the 90s, 110.
Nope.
Like,
I was gonna say I'm not in the 90s.
But how many? What is your points total right now?
I don't know.
120
I
or
have
something
somebody
like,
going tonight.
Yeah. I have Jaden Daniels and Jacory Krosky-Merritt, and I'm
My
going to
point total's 127, and I've still got players to play. It's
fabrication.
It's ridiculous. In the 90s,
That's fine.
projected score 140.
It's not about like Adam's team every week.
That's fine, but you're 127. He's at 175, dude. He's 50 points better than you.
Yeah.
That is what I'm saying.
I already beat you.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
The coffee shop said
I'm in the
the
120s.
excuse is in full effect.
I'm not. What excuses? I'm not making any excuses. Explain to me what. Hang on for a second. Now you're derailing this.
Points was the excuse in fantasy football.
What is the excuse? I don't understand. What is the excuse?
That your schedule. You had a bad schedule.
That's a fact.
Everyone plays the same schedule.
That is not. That's not true.
You're 11th in points for in the league. Out of
There's 12 teams, by the way.
No. I'm higher than that in points for. I think I'm like 9th or something like that.
You're literally not.
Well, the week's
I'm
not
looking
over.
at it right now.
We'll see tomorrow when the week is over. Anyway.
All right.
It's over. I would like producer Steven a note here. I did not derail this effing show. These two assholes.
I just had a question. I got an answer. Chargers-Dolphins. Herbert and McConkey get this one done at the end, but the story of the game was with Amari and Hampton out, Kimani Vidals in with over 22 fantasy points, and after the game he said, I can be even better.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I wanted to do more. I still feel like I could have done better. But I mean, just happy we won, really. Really just showcase my talents. I feel like before this game, like I just haven't done much like on the field wise. Like I played here and there. I had good plays here and there. I've had negative plays here and there. I just wanted to just do more.
Kimani Vidals. He is the Amari and Hampton replacement. We had questions, Jay, how much Haskins would be involved, but
I think this counts towards ride or die, right?
yeah. Chargers backfield.
It's a disaster.
The Hassan Haskins era was fun while it lasted. Yeah. So the question is, Miami have been one of the worst defenses in the NFL so far, and their front has not performed as expected. So it's basically how much of this is transferable going forward. It'll be a much tougher matchup next week against the Colts, the juggernaut Indianapolis Colts, 5-1, ruling the AFC South. So how viable do you think Vidal is, Matthew?
I think somewhat. I mean, so right, to your point, the schedule gets a lot tougher. Home to the Colts, home to the Vikings, at Tennessee, home to Pittsburgh are the next 4. But I think that's at least somewhat viable because he's a decent pass catcher. They were willing to use him in the passing game. He played 67% of the snaps. He had a 10.5% target share. Now, no QJ in this game as well, but like it's clear that they kind of wanted to go into the game with a hot hand approach, and Vidal got the first carry and was the better, more explosive player, just to the eye test, compared with him and Haskins. And so I think he is probably more high-end flex-ish and low-end RB2-ish in that range than he is, RB7, which is what he is as we head into Monday Night Football. But I do think because of his pass-catching skills and because they really don't have anyone else, I do think there's at least somewhat of a floor there on a team that's going to have to figure out different ways to move the ball. Also, I think very encouraging that Jauan didn't go on IR. Right. He was injured, 3 weeks ago? So him coming back is going to make a huge difference to this offense overall and the run game in particular relative to what it's been. 4 different runs of 10 or more yards. I mean, there was an explosiveness to Vidal. Again, it's Miami, so you have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But still, he did what a decent running back should do in bad competition. he dominated. And so, good for him, for everyone that had the guts to start him. Kudos to you. Vidal's still out there in like 75% of leagues. We are going to talk about him tomorrow, I am sure, as we have already.
This one from J Stabs, Flexious, Newberry terminology.
Yeah, Flexious.
Like a disease.
Fair enough.
Inflectious.
Fair enough. Nice to see Ladd McConkey in this game get back up the schneid. Season highs in receptions, yards, and fantasy points. 24% target share. Again, no Quentin Johnson in this, but and also he had, along with Justin Herbert, the play of the game. Herbert, the better part of that, avoiding the sack, moving along, finding McConkey, and then McConkey doing the rest to convert the first down and keep the drive alive. Worth noting, didn't show up in the box score, but Trey Harris had an 85% route participation, led all the Chargers wide receivers in snaps played. So again, that's probably, he was the deep threat for Quentin Johnson, and maybe he was just sort of running wind sprints there, but it was just, I thought that was interesting as well. Oronde Gadsden, 75% of the snaps, 77% route participation. We like Oronde Gadsden. Even though Will Dissly was back and healthy, Gadsden still gets the 7 receptions, had a nice game there. We'll talk about him more tomorrow as well.
Aloha Brick says, should I sell high on Ladd with QJ just being out this week?
I don't think you can sell high on Ladd McConkey. It was one game. I mean, sure, try it. But Keenan Allen, last 2 games has slowed down a little bit, and so we don't know exactly when QJ is going to come back. I weirdly think you could buy low on McConkey because I think he's better. Because I think he's still you've had one good week, but I actually think if you can get him for wide receiver 3 prices, which I think based on his overall season-long stats is about where he's at. I would do that because we believe in the talent, right? We believe in the talent.
Also think Ladd is going to have a big week against the Colts next week because I think Indianapolis are literally missing their 6 first-choice cornerbacks at the moment.
That showed up, because
Jacoby Brissett just lit them up.
Right, they held on, but Jacoby Brissett went up and down the field for most of the game, and Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt in this game after making some great plays. So this was one where the Colts are happy to get the win, but Arizona's offense played pretty well for the most part. But Tyler Warren right now, guys, I mean, how many tight ends would you take the rest of the season over Tyler Warren, Matthew?
Trey McBride and Trey McBride.
Kittle if he's healthy.
I don't know.
I would have Warren
second.
Yeah, I'd have Warren second. Yeah. The thing is that he just doesn't seem to have bad games, which is very rare for a tight end. Tyler Warren's really bad games are like 4 for 50 type of thing, right?
No, he's total package. They use him a little bit in the run. They just do different things with him. Nothing about his usage or talent makes me think anything of this is a fluke. You see this? I was going to read that.
I got it. Yeah, this is
from Next Gen Stats.
Yeah, Tyler Warren caught at least 1 pass from 4 different alignments, is what he was saying, and then it vanished away from us. But I mean, the point is they're moving around so much. We've seen the tush push before. We've seen him play the slot, H-back, fullback, true tight end, and he's a huge part of their identity.
He lines up in the backfield on all these goal line plays, and they used it as a fake for the Jonathan Taylor game-winning touchdown. But he is this offense. It's Jonathan Taylor and it's Tyler Warren, and those are the primary 2 guys. And then Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, they kind of all fall in line behind them.
I'm in this dynasty league with a bunch of other fantasy analysts, a bunch of names that you probably heard of if you pay attention to fantasy Twitter, and so I'm in a rebuilding year. Just by the way, 1, 2 of the first 3 years. No, I just want to be clear here. While you're sitting here dragging me, what?
Are you rebuilding in most of your leagues?
No, just in one dynasty league. Honestly, look, the whole point of dynasty is you're either competing for a title or you should be rebuilding. And so I won 2 of the first 3 years of this league, and so I'm in the second year of rebuilding. So I pushed all my chips in. I won 2 titles. Now I'm rebuilding, which is exactly what you should be doing in Dynasty. The point of this is that this particular league does this weird thing where we draft before the NFL draft. So it's just entirely about talent. And I had the 3rd pick this year. And so Ashton Genty goes 1, and Omarion Hampton goes 2. And I was bummed because I really would have loved Genty or Hampton. I thought Cam Ward, it's a super flex league. So I thought, Cam Ward goes 2. I'm probably going to get Hampton. Didn't get Hampton. But it is tight end premium as well. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take Tyler Warren at 3 overall. And the league, just in the league chat, was a little surprised. They thought that might have been a little bit early for Tyler Warren. I'm like, well, it's tight end premium, and I believe in the kid. And then he goes to the Colts, and everyone's clowning me because they're like, oh, well, now, terrible landing spot for Tyler Warren.
When Richardson was projected to be the starter.
When Richardson was projected to be the starter. And so, and yes, thank you, Degen Dragon. Kudos to Barry, people who told us before the season draft Warren, let's go last place. Thank you very much. This is true. We've been talking about Tyler Warren for a long time.
I remember we had a long combine.
Since the combine. And so the whole point of that dynasty story is that if I had it to all do over again, I think I would take Tyler Warren #1 overall in a tight end premium dynasty league.
Yeah.
Over Genty, over Hampton.
Sure. No, I'm with you there. I also find it interesting that you've opted for a rebuilding year in our league, which is a redraft league. A strange kind of strategy there that overlaps.
I didn't opt for it so much as I just sort of chose me. It kind of found me.
The rebuild chose me. I like that. Yeah. The only other note from this game, guys, was the Arizona backfield is just kind of a blendered mess in this. I mean, Drew Mercado leaves the game with the injury, but Bam Knight and Michael Carter almost evenly splitting the carries here, Matthew.
We talked about it on Fantasy Football pregame, Sunday mornings 11 to 1 on Peacock and YouTube, the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, McConkey Man. And we talked about the fact that the news had been reported that Bam Knight, not Michael Carter, was going to be Bam Knight leading the backfield for the Cardinals. He plays 49% of the snaps, goes 11 for 34, does get you at least a rushing touchdown, falls in the end zone. Michael Carter, it's pretty much a split between Bam Knight and Michael Carter. They play Green Bay at home next week, and then they're on a bye, and then maybe Trey Benson is back. So we can talk more about this tomorrow, but if you have to start a Cardinals running back, feels like Bam Knight, but also doesn't feel like significantly better than Michael Carter. Neither of these guys particularly great. Trey McBride continues to do Trey McBride things. He's had at least a 23% target share in every game this year, scores a touchdown. And it was the Jacoby Brissett show.
Well, on that, yesterday you brought up on the show that you were surprised that Kyler Murray to Jacoby Brissett was a 2 to 3 point downgrade in the market in terms of how the line was priced. And I was like, I don't know, Matthew. I think Kyler Murray's a lot better than Jacoby Brissett. I'm not sure anymore.
I'm telling you.
I'm pretty sure they might be the same.
Marv's presser during the week was a giveaway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, Marvin Harrison Jr. leaves this game with an injury as well. We'll see. But
he looked good.
He did. He ran the offense. Like, they were fine.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett is not the reason they lost that game.
No, not at all. Our last game here, the Bengals lose to the Packers, but I think what everybody was paying attention to, I mean, Josh Jacobs had an awesome game, but what this Joe Flacco-led Bengals offense would look like, Matthew, and the good news is a nice little bump up for Jamar Chase.
Yeah, you're welcome, America. I can't tell you how much crap I got online when I said, like, oh, this is an upgrade, great trade. And I was like, oh, that immobile guy behind that line, blah, blah, blah. And they just, you're like, terrible take, Barry. And I'm like, I get that he's old and I get it's a bad line, but he has a YOLO to him. He has a bigger arm strength. He will throw it deep. He will throw it into coverage. He has guts that Jake Browning doesn't have to throw it into coverage and trust his receivers to come down with it, especially when you've got receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And that's exactly what we saw. You saw the touchdown pass to Jamar Chase, a great catch by Jamar Chase. But by the way, that's what Jamar Chase does. Yeah. That's why he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. He threw it into double coverage, and at the end of that play, Jamar Chase had a touchdown. And the offense, it was really an impressive performance by comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco. Jay, you have to give him credit.
No,
on the road at Green Bay with less than a week with a team, and like they had a chance at winning that game. With a better defense, they actually might have won that game.
Well, Jordan Love had to make a play on like 3rd and 8 to win the game at the end. If he doesn't complete that pass, and it didn't look like he was going to at the start of the play, then Joe Flacco is driving down the field for the second time this season to beat the Green Bay Packers. No, I thought it was very encouraging. First half was rough, but then once he got into the swing of things, to your point, like gets the ball out quick and he just puts it in the vicinity of Jamar Chase. And the other thing about Flacco too is that like Jake Browning was just completely melting out there by the end. Like he was so in his own head. Joe Flacco doesn't care. Like, Joe Flacco's just going to fling it. Like
he's unfazed.
He's just going to execute the offense. He's just going to do his thing.
Joe Flacco has 0 Fs left to give. The F, of course, stands for Flacco. The only other thing from this game here, but like again, if you are a manager that has Jamar Chase or T. Higgins on your team, you have to be incredibly encouraged. They have 3 straight home games coming up: Steelers, Jets, Bears. Pretty easy. None of those defenses scare you all that much. And certainly none of them are as good as the Green Bay Packers and their 3 home games. So you feel pretty good if you have Chase or Higgins. They may have saved the season. Then they've got to bye in Week 10. At the Steelers, home to the Patriots, at the Ravens on Thanksgiving. It's not till Week 14 at the Bills that you sort of go like, uh-oh. right? I mean, like, so it's a nice schedule here for the Bengals, who are 2-4. They're not out of this yet, so I think you're very happy. The only concern here is Chase Brown, guys, who, you know, he's running back 18, but like fourth straight game with under 15 fantasy points. He hasn't scored 12 or more fantasy points since week 1. Like, you want to know why I'm in last place? Because I used a third-round pick on Chase F. and Brown in a Superflex league. Like, I mean, just as bad a pick as there's been in fantasy football this year. I don't know that it's all his fault. Again, the offensive line is awful and Joe Burrow's injury, but he's just, I don't know if you feel good about starting him at all. Like, I mean, he's a starting running back getting a massive workload, but it's all for naught. It's useless.
Yeah, he's a flex guy at this point. I think the thing too is, like, Flacco doesn't help the run game a ton. He brings a lot more confidence to the passing game, but obviously he's no threat to move himself, and he's just kind of a sitting duck back there. So I don't think it really. And he might get him in the scoring position a little bit more, but that's about it.
And he's not a guy that sort of dinks and dunks. He's much more likely to chuck it, as opposed to like dump it off to Chase Brown.
Right. I think if you were hoping for some kind of Chase Brown bump, it would be from the check down, and you didn't get that in this game.
No,
they were down. He got 2 catches for 7 yards.
Yeah, it was brutal. And by the way, when they were making a run towards the end, there was some Samaje Perine in the 2-minute drill and the hurry up offense.
I mean, over the last 2 weeks, 47% snap rate for Samaje Perine that's wild.
Chase Brown might be the worst draft pick of fantasy football this year.
Oh boy, Jay, the comments are on you. The D-Gen Dragon Flacco is coming for Jay and his evil team.
Thank you, D-Gen Dragon.
I can't get Joe Flacco out of my life.
Yeah.
Just keeps on
Jay,
popping up.
Say his name.
Say his name, Jay.
Joe Flacco. It's like Michael Myers in Halloween, just around every corner for me.
He's like he's your Voldemort.
Made him in retirement.
He's your Voldemort.
Yeah, it kind of is. He's got your number.
Get him Thursday night, TJ.
All right, we're taking our first break. When we're back, we got Weekend Warriors and Sunday Scaries right after this.
One of the very few people that knows what JSN experience what JSN is doing right now. What can you say about not just the numbers, but how consistent?
Yeah, I mean that's not an easy thing to do. What he's been doing, knowing that we come into games with opportunities for him to get the ball at all 3 levels, and defenses know that he's going to be a target, and to consistently win over and over again when a defense is planning on trying to take him out of the game. That speaks volumes. I mean, it shows the ability just in the route running and being able to understand the offense well enough to be able to move around and be in different spots. And he's doing a really good job. So, yeah, he's a good player.
That was Cooper Kupp talking about how special Jaxson Smith-Njigba is. He is absolutely at the top of our weekend warriors. He had 8 catches on 13 targets for 162 yards and a touchdown. Matthew, I think JSN and Darnold is the best connection in football this year.
It's unbelievable. You guys remember when we interviewed JSN at the Super Bowl last year?
It was me.
And it was me and you. And I showed him the roster that he was on from my championship team in our show league. And he was very proud. He's very proud of us. He said, "Thank you very much." I wish I had him this year because I think he is now with the Puka injury, and we're going to get to that. I think he's the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football. If you were redrafting today, I don't think there's a wide receiver you would want more the rest of the UA. Again, we'll find out the severity of the Puka injury, but like Jaxson Smith-Njigba is the guy. 36.4% target share here, and there's nothing about his production that makes you think this is fluky. Darnold is playing well. There's not real competition for targets, but there's enough in Kupp and Horton and A.J. Barner that keeps defenses honest. But he is him. Yeah. He is that dude.
I think it's a little fluky that he keeps catching these 50-yard passes, but it doesn't really matter. He's not going to catch 50-yard passes every single week. It's just not going to happen.
But the play action in their offense,
that's what they do.
Kubiak's doing a really good job. I understand every week you can't do that.
He's not going to keep doing this. No, but it doesn't mean he'll still be a top 2 wide receiver.
Still might be the number 1 guy. Yeah.
I mean, like He's right there. I mean, they're going to keep taking – that's part of their offense. They're going to keep taking deep shots to him, and he is that good.
Ryan Oswald in the chat goes, so he'll only have 120 yards a week.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly,
that's what
Jay.
it does feel like.
Anyway,
I would take Puka over him the rest of the way if Puka is – McVay just said he's day-to-day, so I think the Puka will be fine.
We're all day-to-day.
Yeah, that's okay. But it doesn't matter. Like, there's no action to take. JSN's awesome. Him and Puka are clearly the tier 1 of receivers, and there's a drop-off to everyone else.
It's a good debate. We don't have time for it, though. I'm not convinced I would take – because, again, that's part of the equation with Puka is that he misses time. Right. He's awesome when he's out there, but injuries are a real part of Puka's profile in a way that isn't with Jaxson Smith-Njigba. Either way, you got a draft day steal wherever you got JSN. Let's talk about Brian Thomas Jr. There was a Brian Thomas Jr. sighting.
A good week for Brian Thomas Jr.
2 good weeks.
Finally. Yeah, but this is what we expected all year, Jay. 90 yards and a touchdown. This is kind of what you thought you'd get every week, and has not been the case.
Yeah, it's very encouraging that as he's gotten more acclimated in Liam Cohen's offense, that he's strung together 2 good games in a row. This one better than the previous week against Kansas City. Also, Trevor Lawrence probably just is what we thought he was, but that's fine in terms of providing fantasy value. I think it's actually good for Brian Thomas Jr. that the defense doesn't look as good as it might have looked a couple of weeks ago. I think they're going to be in more shootouts.
Yeah, and he's also like Lawrence has looked better, and they seem to be on the same page. And whatever yips BTJ had earlier in the season seemed to have gone. He actually had 2 touchdowns in this game. 1 called back. It was this fluky play that popped into his arms, but it got called back due to penalty. But it really feels good that BTJ is finally going to return the draft day value that you had here. As bad as my team is in our league, if there's one bright spot, it might be Darake Maye, or Drake Maye, as most people call him. 3rd straight game this year with 3 total touchdowns. Since week 2, he's the 3rd best quarterback in fantasy, Connor.
He's pushing the ball down the field. Kayshon Boutte, obviously a benefit of that. 5 of 5, caught 5 of his 5 targets, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jay, Drake Maye just looks a lot more comfortable, and now the pass game is looking more explosive.
Yeah, a lot of chat about Baker Mayfield MVP, which is well warranted. Drake Maye is not far off that conversation with how well he has played this year and the fact that he has the easiest schedule in football remaining as well. Also, he had a 50-yarder to Diggs called back by a suspect call.
It was a very odd call.
Yeah, so Drake Maye is a big.
Yeah, and just for people that are, because we've been talking about Diggs for the last 2 weeks, and then it was Boutte, and then Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas has the long touchdown as well. I'm not Nice game for Boutte. I still will have Stephon Diggs ranked the highest of all the Patriots wide receivers next week. But either way, Drake Maye is obviously locked in as a top 10 fantasy quarterback the rest of the way.
Michael Mayer also makes the list. He caught 5 of 7 targets, 50 yards and a touchdown. In the tight end landscape, that's a pretty good day. But Matthew, of course, Brock Bowers is going to be back at some point.
At some point, but until he is, Mayer is a viable fill-in. They're at Kansas City next week, the Raiders are, and then they have a bye. So you have to wonder if maybe Brock Bowers doesn't come back until after the bye 3 weeks from now when they play at home to the Jaguars.
Sunday Scaries, how many times, guys, do you get an entire offense on the list? Well, that's what the New York Jets did in London. Negative 10 passing yards. This is a staple of what I do. When the Jets have a game they can't get across the 50, I usually pull up 1917. Great piece of cinema. Bad day.
Connor.
Bad year.
Go ahead.
Bad day.
I want to turn the table over to you. This Jets offense is horrific.
They win the game if Tyrod Taylor plays the fourth quarter. Truly. Like, you needed 25 yards at the end of the game, and Sean Payton, to his credit, knew they couldn't get it, so they punted back to them.
I think they win by double digits if Tyrod's the starter from, minute one.
I was asked on the Football Night in America a podcast to use one word to describe the Jets, and I said sad.
I mean, yeah.
I would say comical.
From a bad season.
I would say comical.
Whatever one you want.
I don't know if it's something about being a Jets quarterback, but like Justin Fields is suddenly seeing Zach Wilson ghosts.
He's just staring at the rush
and the
every
Sam
time.
Darnold ghosts and
Guys
all
are
of
open.
it.
Guys are open,
and it's not like he's getting sacked immediately every play.
He's holding the ball way too long.
He's holding the ball forever.
Yeah.
The longest in the league by a wide margin. Yeah. So that sunk Garrett Wilson. That always sinks Breece Hall, and that's why the Jets offense makes it.
They're home to Carolina. We'll talk more about this week, but it's just absolutely brutal. And same the game on the other side. Like Denver looked terrible.
Really bad.
Denver's lucky that the Jets looked so horrific because someone was talking about how bad Bo Nix played, and Courtland Sutton did nothing in this game.
No, he had one catch for 17 yards. Sauce Gardner's done a really good job on him in the past, and it feels like when they matched up, that continued. Davante Adams on this list, he had 9 targets, Jay, but he only caught 4 of them for 39 yards. Not a great day for the Rams, despite them winning by 14 points.
Yeah, troubling that they weren't able to do more against that Ravens defense. They didn't really have to do much in the second half, though. Kenneth Walker as well. The Seahawks were having so much success through the air to JSN. He didn't get huge involvement. Quinshon Judkins never had any game script. And then Tony Pollard as well. This Titans offense just a mess.
Well, but Tajay Spears came back, led the backfield with a 59% snap rate. Now, they were down, so that was part of it. He's the passing game. But I think you have to be a little bit concerned about Pollard. And it's now back-to-back games with single-digit fantasy points for Ken Walker. That is a true timeshare with him and Charbonnet. Pollard now in a timeshare with Tajay Spears. So those guys are more flexy than rock-solid starters moving forward. You prefer Walker to Pollard, of course. Just better offense, better player. But we'll talk more about their upcoming matchups as the week goes on. We'll be back after this.
Monday Night Football doubleheader, our preview right ahead. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, the crown
is yours.
The crown
hopefully will be ours.
By the way, real quickly, no, DraftKings. No, I literally in the commercial break got an email from DraftKings in terms of the Emeka Egbuka injury. Voided, yeah. So you got bonus bets from that. So appreciate that. So mistaken in that. No, it's good.
Yeah, good.
Oh, good.
Good for America. Apology
good for DraftKings. Yeah.
Better email from DraftKings than words from you.
Yeah, fair. What are you going to do?
All right, Jay, what do you got for the one of two game?
Yeah, 1 of 2 games. I'm going to go Bijan Robinson, his longest rush, over 15 and a half yards against the Bills. They're only 3.5-point dogs coming off the bye. Expected to have game script. The Bills have a bottom 5 rush defense by EPA per rush. They're very banged up as a defense overall. I think Bijan will run one for at least 16.
What about you, Matthew?
I'm taking Zach Ertz over 29.5 receiving yards. No Terry McLaurin, no Noah Brown in this game. Deebo Samuel, a game-time decision. Zach Ertz had 0 receiving yards last week. I don't think that happens 2 weeks ago. Remember, the Bears give the second highest catch rate to opposing tight ends. So Zach Ertz, I think, will be targeted early and often by Jayden Daniels on Monday Night Football. He always looks for his clutch guy. Not a lot else around him.
I'm with you, Matthew. They got to throw to somebody in this game. That's why I'm going with Bill, JCM, over 9.5 receiving yards. I played this morning. It was at 7.5. It's now at 9.5. I'm sure it's just going to continue to go up. He basically needs 1, maybe 2 catches to get to this. Why? Because the usage over the last 2 weeks has been so much better for Bill.
That's exactly right. He has an explosiveness to this offense that they don't have in a lot of other places. You see my top-ranked players in tonight's Bills at Falcons game. Obviously, you're starting Josh Allen. You're starting the running backs in Bijan and Cook. I do think Algier has a shot at getting a touchdown in this one as well. Obviously, London would like to avoid the pass catchers on Buffalo with the exception of Kincaid. And look at Kyle Pitts, tight end 12. He's a borderline tight end 1 this year, guys.
Crazy. Yep, just when we wrote him off. We're back in again.
Here are my top players for the Bears at my beloved Commanders. I do think this is a bit of a shootout. Jaden and Caleb should both be awesome. I think Swift and JCM as well. You heard me talk about Ertz. I have benched DJ Moore where I can outside my top 30. Other than Adunze, I don't know that there's anyone that you trust in that Bears passing offense.
Going to be a good doubleheader, and I'm with you on your take about the Bills receivers. The Falcons have been pretty good in coverage overall, but the Bills, we'll see how that test is.
Yeah, JCM is the most interesting guy to me across these 2 games because we could be talking about him as a legit RB1 after tonight, depending on how it goes. His rushing yards is 67.5. Like it's pretty high and a good indicator.
By the way, I'll also say this: DeAndre Swift. Look at the Bears' upcoming schedule. The Bears have a ridiculous schedule, and unless Kyle Monange comes out here and suddenly gets a big workload, DeAndre Swift is just going to fall into top 10 production over the next. So he's a trade. Hey, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Jay and Connor, I'm Matthew. Good luck tonight with your Monday Night Miracles. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.